first part of the presentation is my first house and my alleged second house, which is going to be a quick intro into, I guess, what I do in property. The second half is going to be social media, branding, marketing, how to present yourselves, how to show other people what you're doing and why it's important. So a quick intro about me. I have a podcast called TED Talks. It's similar to TED Talks, but obviously we're better, more famous, more well-known, so all good on that front. I speak to property investors, real property investors like us. There's no celebrities on there, there's no sort of big shots. It's all people like you and I doing it right now. So none of this, I built a portfolio and it was 120% mortgages and same-day refinance. It's people struggling with Brexit and other crazy things that are happening. I invest in property in South Wales, in, I wouldn't say the valleys, but almost the valleys, if anyone's been to South Wales. And I'm currently buying buy-to-lets. So, this is my first property, 82 Neath Road. I put these on because I thought they looked quite nice. It's quite a nice picture. It would hopefully attract some higher rent with some 10 quid balls, who knows. So I got this for £50,000 for a whole house, right? It was on for 80, it was a probate, it wouldn't sell. Agent said, look, just take this off. It was through a sourcer. So the sourcing fee plus project manager was hefty, it was 5k, but you'll see why it was worth it. The refurb was £5,000. Now, it had a bit of damp around the windows, it had a bit of, it was nothing major, right? Nothing structural, the garden was an absolute tip. Kind of needed some new kitchen units, some new vinyl. Otherwise, it's magnolia, it's got kind of wood laminate flooring. It's pretty nice, it's pretty big for the area. So the refurb was £5,000, and then we discovered after opening, looking at the render on the main back window, that the lintel was wood. So you could literally push it and it would just come out. So obviously you can't hold the house up with that. So new concrete lintel went in and was re-rendered. So that sort of increased it slightly. The costs are there, such as stamp duty, survey, legals, extra mining search I had to have, because it's Wales. So I'm all in for that, and worst case, it should revalue at £80,000, potentially a bit more. I leave in that much, and it nets around £250 a month. So the gross on that is almost 70%. So, people ask me, why do you invest in Wales? This is why, right? And it's got strong rental demand, it's already been advertised at above market rent, and it's getting a lot of responses. Now, that's all good. This is going to be let next week, happy days. Friday, I got an email. Offer accepted! No. So, the offer was accepted, but you can see here, that's my refurb cost, yeah, 16,000, cool. That's me, right? I sent my builder in yesterday. He's project manager and builder, and I trust his prices because we've worked together before. He goes, yeah, Tej, you're looking at about 27 grand plus the 15% contingency plus the percentage project management. I was like, what? So I made a mistake here. I didn't cost up this refurb properly. I put it in as cosmetic, it looks like your nan's house, bits and bobs changing, but no, stairs onto building regs, total replaster throughout the whole house because it's all cracking and it's old. There's also some potentially structural defects which weren't in the £27,000, right? I've included separately because it could just be a lintel, I don't know. So all these extra costs added up, and I had to go back to the agent and tail between my legs and say, I've sent my builder in, who's more experienced than me, who is a builder, kind of put the blame on him in a way, and said, look, he's showing me all this stuff. The refurb's now almost, it was £10,000 more, but there's two options here. I'm going to have to offer you 40, which I know is a joke, and he's going to say no, or I just pull out, and I hate having to do this, give the whole breakdown of the costs, everything. And she called me and said, look, he's not going to accept 40, but see you on another viewing soon. I thought, okay, I've rescued this, because pulling out of an offer, when I said, yeah, 2 week completion, it's going to be easy, to then be like, yeah, I can't even buy it, is pretty terrible, right? So I just wanted to show this, because when I put it in, it was all good. This on Friday, I was like, yeah, I've accepted, woo! And I left it in, because I want you to all see, people who are new to property, people who aren't, you're going to mess up. Even on deals that are as good as this, 54%, still pretty good. And you just have to learn from it, move forward, and rectify the situation by giving the agent some love, giving them the source. Now, oh yeah, quick one. People say, why South Wales, right? So I put the reasons there. Strong rental market, good selling demand, buying B&B, and distance to my house. I live in West London, so 2.5 hours. I put old school there, right? Now, old school is a good thing and a bad thing. You have a lot of investors who will, someone for 70, they'll offer 65, they'll leave, the 25% in, they don't care, happy days. That's their strategy. No one wants this no money down, pulling things out. So, you can face a lot of competition when dealing with the old school kind of way of buying, let's call it old school, right? At the same time, a lot of landlords will leave their houses in a bad state. They'll leave it in a condition that you would not want to live in yourself, and it'll get rented. And there's a problem because they'll have it in a condition, but it'll still get rented. So why would you change something, right? It's not broke, don't fix it. So there's opportunity there to come in with stuff like the topiary balls. I've never seen that on an investment house in Wales, I'll tell you that. That's something unique, right? And the little things like that, and putting gravel in the garden. Things that, for us who invest up here, or in the Midlands, it's probably quite normal and expected, just doesn't happen in these places I invest in. So it gives you a great opportunity to do so. People say to me, oh, you're investing in Wales, your house will be worth less than 10 years. I said, well, it won't be, right? Because if you look at some of the figures of capital appreciation, they've been pretty good compared to the rest of the UK. And also, there's quite a few sustainable biological biotech projects happening near these places that is going to slowly creep up the value. So that's why South Wales, if anyone was wondering. So really quickly, my strategy is firstly in Wales to acquire 10 buy-to-lets. That's just a number. If I get more, happy days. But that's the minimum I want. And it goes back to what I said before, which is the de-risk and diversify. Buy-to-lets are boring, they're vanilla, they don't produce that much income. You don't need to design them incredibly, right? They're just family houses, they'll always let. And that's the point. When HMOs, when you bring more regulations, when you have things going on, I don't want a portfolio of all one thing. I want it to be mixed and diversified to protect myself against anything, right, that could happen. So, starting with the buy-to-lets, and this is quite a traditional way, right? Into HMOs and blocks of flats for the obvious reasons of cash flow. One thing though, I much prefer flats because it's like a HMO, but the humans aren't touching each other, right? They're separate. There's walls between them, there's more ASTs again, we're de-risking. And I think the end goal is to be on grand design, really, right? Is to have something that looks like that, and probably in London because I live there. And that's the kind of, that's my strategy, right? I'm still pretty early on. I think I've been in property full-time for a month and a half, I think. I've been in property for, I want to say 8 to 9 months, kind of when I started my podcast. So, not too long. I definitely should have more houses, and that's something that I'm reflecting on and learning from. So let's get to the more interesting stuff, right? Personal branding. Now, everyone in this room has a personal brand, whether you know it or not. Whether you have a Facebook profile, an Instagram profile, you have one of these, right? So, what is a personal brand? It can be quite intangible to start with, right? And I think Jeff puts it really well. And if we go back 5 years, right, this would have been the definition of reputation. And it still is, right, as a word. But brand is a powerful thing that means your reputation. It means how you speak, your voice, how you stand, how you dress, the way in which you communicate, the colours you use, the brands you are, right? I'm going to look at that. That is a company brand, but it's close enough to a personal brand that I can say to you, look, here's 2 clear brands, right? Yellow, purple, and you've got the white, red, and black. These are 2 forms of a brand. Now, what the importance of having a brand is, I'll get to on the next slide. But what I think I want to get across is that no matter what you do, where you are, how you're doing it, you're going to come across a certain way, and that is you. And you're going to have certain habits and nuances and quirks that are you. And this makes your personal brand. I mean, for example, you saw Scott and Dan up here. What were they wearing on their upper body that I'm not? Someone say it. Blazer, right? Look, I'm in trainers, like these kind of be fit. I'm in like a pajama top, right? But this is my brand, and that's their brand, right? And you associate little things like that with them. When you see Dan on a video, you think certain things about him. You see me on a video, you think certain things about me, right? So your reputation and how you come across, and frankly, what people say about you when you're not there, is your personal brand. So, why do you need a brand? Now there's an old school way of networking, which is, go to events like this. No offense, it's an incredible event and it's an incredible thing to do. But the old school way is go to events, have your little black book where you write things down, have your business cards, have your contacts, and kind of have your physical circles. Now, the importance of having a brand is that it's digital. If we look at statistics here, for people who are numbers, right? There's 34 people in this room, about 34? Yeah. So I'm speaking for half an hour to 34 people. If I record one podcast, which will literally take me half an hour, no travel, no nothing, I can reach 2,000 people. So you can see already, by having a brand and it being digital, ignoring all the other reasons that are on the slide, you can reach more people in one go. You know, to reach 2,000 people, I'd have to do this, I'm not going to do the maths, but a lot, right? I'd have to go to network events, travel, spend time on it to reach the same number of people. And at the same time, I may not engage you the same way because you'll be forced to sit here and listen to me. Whereas on a podcast, you're in the gym, you're walking, whatever, right? And so that's probably, for me, one of the most important reasons to have a digital brand is your reach. You know, we're all about leveraging and outsourcing. So if you can spend this amount of time to reach this many people, as opposed to the same amount of time to reach less people, you know, which one do you want to do? And there's a few other reasons on there. I think for people in property, you know, we all want investment, right? We want people to invest in our deals as a JV or as an angel. So what this does is, it's like your online CV. People have to build up trust and credibility in you. You know, there could be people in this room who have 100 buy-to-lets in their portfolio. And the person sitting next to you has no clue until you tell them. But there's people in there who have 4 or 5 houses, who are on Facebook or on Instagram, that you walk up to and say, oh, I've seen you. I know about your properties, I saw your challenges, I saw this. You connect with them a lot quicker, and that builds credibility. Because if someone told me, yeah, I've got 100 houses, it's one of those things, right? You always Google someone, you always look at their profile and what they're doing. And if you don't necessarily see it online, the way we're moving now, as blunt as it sounds, are you going to believe them wholly, like fully? I'm not sure, right? I'm just not sure. And I think when you show this, it builds that credibility, right? And again, it's opportunities, you know. I'm only here because of my personal brand. I'm only here because I met Dan at Nando's like, I don't know, 8 months ago because of our personal brands. And if you want to do speaking, if you want to be up here like you were, Sean, talking about things, it comes from people knowing who you are, right? So it builds up opportunities that you just never know even existed. And again, deals. You know, I've had deals come my way where people have said, look, I trust you that you're looking in this area, I've got a good deal here, I haven't seen your proof of funds, but I trust you, right? I trust you're going to do this. Let me show you this first. What do you think? And that only comes from me doing things like this and talking to people, right? So these little opportunities that you hear people talk about, like when Steve comes on to talk to you, he's going to have some incredible deals, and I bet you they've come from his network, right? People who know him. So think of branding as a way to build a network a lot quicker. And if you want to sell things, like guides, ebooks, whatever it is, become an education provider, is someone going to want to learn from you? You've got 100 properties, but you haven't told anyone about it. So you're, Tom, Dick, and Harry, you're the same. You need a brand to stand out, right? And then eventually, you can sell things. There's plenty of people selling things online, sitting on a beach, while we're here selling our own property. So just think that actually, when you have a brand, you can do other things that isn't necessarily property. So I want to touch on what brands were and what they are now. No offense to blazers or suits, right, before I get into this, but what was branding like 20, 30 years ago? It was that, right? It was literally that. There was no face, it was a logo, it was a corporate company, we're a PLC, that's what it was. And yeah, some companies are still like that. But now, does everyone know who he is?
Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, one who he is?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so he basically took, he's an NFL player, I believe, right, really good one, getting paid millions. He took a kneel during the American anthem to say, fuck you, basically, because of all the disgusting stuff they've done as a government, etc. And he had a career ahead of him. But he took a kneel, got fired, blah, blah, blah. Nike then hired him and said, we want you to be the face of our brand for these adverts to say, look, take a stand for something. And there were a lot of people in America, a lot of hillbillies saying, I'm burning my Nike shoes, I don't trust Nike no more. People were going crazy. Oh, we hate Nike, how can they have him on there? And it's true, what he did was he split like Nike's followers into people who want to take a stand and have integrity, and others who are just thick, to put it frankly. But this is something that you don't see people doing often. Because Nike would have sat in a meeting thinking, if we take Colin on, we could lose 20% of our revenue. That could happen, and I'm sure they did lose some sales. But what they thought was, hold on, this is our brand, this is what we stand for, this is real life, right? So actually, forget the 20% we're going to lose, we're going to keep and make the relationship stronger with 80% that we have. And things like this make a modern brand. If you tweet Nando's, if you tweet like Monzo Bank, or any sort of new fintech or tech company, they get back to you. It might take the piss out of you sometimes, I've had that done to me, and they'll make a joke with you. But if you tweet like M&S or Sainsbury's, they're going to be very corporate and boring with you. And there's a difference between what a brand used to be and what a brand is. So just remember this as we go through, that really, you want to be Colin. You don't want to be whoever that is, right? I'm not going to give them a name because they don't have one. So this just shows the change of brand over time. And even what they're wearing, again, is different. So before I give you like the blueprint and how to build a brand yourself, I want to touch on maybe the theory, right? So the 4 pillars of branding. So I'm going to start with the bottom left, personality. We've all got personality, right? Yes. Good.
Yeah.
Some of us are sarcastic, some of us are grumpy, some of us are really positive, some of us are into comic books, some of us are into trainers, or into whatever, right? We have a personality. Now, when you have a brand, a personal brand, it should be your personality. Don't hide things from people. Don't think that, oh, I'm in property, I have to present myself as I am and be really stiff and just talk about the figures and then walk off. Like, no, present yourself as you are, because looking at that previous picture, who did you connect more with? Colin, you could see his eyes, you could see his face. He was a human, he was a living, organic person, right? Who has quirks and foibles and different things. People are going to connect with you. Yes, the deal has to stack. Yes, it has, it's good to have good colours and everything like that. But someone has to connect with you. And a slight tangent here, I put a post up on Facebook saying, why do people not have their profile pictures of their face? Like, why is it a dog or their back with like a tattoo on or something? Right? Why do people have this? And some people were like, oh, I don't even know what the reasons were. Some people defended it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because when you look at someone in the eyes, you form a connection with them, right? And without that, if you have a picture of whatever it is on Facebook, when someone looks at your profile, instantly it's cold. There's a lack of connection, right? And that's because you're not showing who you are, right? So be yourself, yeah? If you're sarcastic and you take the piss out of everyone and you're really miserable about deals, do it. Like, there's people on Facebook you're thinking of probably right now who are like that, but you're remembering them, right? I'm not saying any names. So, next one, I'm going to go with authenticity. This links very closely to personality. Now, you can have a personality and you can have a work personality. Who here currently, put your hands up if you work for someone, you're in a 9 to 5, like a normal job. Okay, so a few of us, right? When you go to work, do you feel that you're putting on a slightly different face to who you are? Right? You're not yourself. Sometimes, right? Now, something like that, which a lot of people do, especially when they don't like their jobs, you cannot do in a personal brand. You shouldn't be one person up front and then another person off camera and off mic. You need to be the same person and have the same values. Else, you're going to break one of the most important things, which is trust and credibility, right? So be who you say you are, right? Like I just told you about that mistake I made. Like, yes, an investor could be listening thinking, this guy doesn't bloody know how to cost of a reflect. Well, I'm going to invest in him. That's cool. But this is who I am. I'll tell you my mistake and be blunt about them, be honest about them. You don't have to do that, but whoever you are, be that person, right? Keep it real. Visibility next. If you're doing the 2 things there, right, in your bedroom, with no camera or no mic, what's the point, right? A tree falls in the forest, do you hear it? No, because you're not going to hear it. So you need to be visible, right? With these things you're doing, if you're not posting regularly, which we'll get to the kind of practical tips, but if you're not being seen to do these things, you could do 20 viewings, have 10 offers accepted. If you haven't shown the world, how is a potential investor going to see it, right? How is someone going to know that you're active in property? When Dan and Scott came up, they spoke about their deals. So everyone in here now knows what they're doing, what they're working on. It's visibility, right? You know that they're serious. They didn't come up here and say, yeah, I've been in property for 4 years, I own nothing, but come invest with me. Then you'd be like, what the hell? But they came and showed you some proof, right? So make sure you're visible. We'll come on to that a bit later. The last one, which I think sort of sits on top of all of these 3 pillars really, is consistency. With anything in business, if you're not consistent, if you're not doing things over and over again and persisting with them, you're not going to achieve success. So you could leave here and say, right, social media strategy, plan it all out, I'm going to post tonight. and you don't post for the next 3-4 weeks, what's the point, right? You're better off just not posting at all. So when you post and when you build a brand and you're speaking to people, make sure that you are consistently doing it, and again, make sure you are consistently yourself. Again, I'll get to the specifics of how to be consistent, but just remember, you have to do those 3, but you have to do them all consistently, right? Or else people won't see you. You post once a month, great. But people don't see what you're doing in between that, whereas someone next to you is posting every week. People are seeing this, and where's the credibility going to lie? So this is the maths, or algebra, I think. Consistency plus authenticity plus personality plus visibility equals E. E is engagement. Engagement can be measured in two ways. One is the purely numerical, statistical way, and the other is the softer way, should we call it. So, why does engagement matter? You know what, let me actually define engagement first. The first way is numerical. Likes, comments, DMs, number of people viewing your video, percentage they've watched. These are all great statistics. But when you're building a brand at the start, it's going to suck. You're going to get 2 views on your video, no one's going to comment, you get likes from your mum and your auntie, and that's it, right? You're just not going to hit it from day one. So those are things I'm not going to talk on too much, because they don't matter hugely when you're starting out. What matters more, I think, is the soft aspect. And what that means is, you could have 20 people DM you, 9 of them are FX traders trying to sell you something, 4 in Bitcoin trying to sell you something, and then 2 of them say, I really like what you're posting. Can we work together? What are you up to? Do you mind if I come down and view some properties with you? And that is engagement, because people are seeing what you're doing, they're interested, they want to meet you, they want to speak to you, they want to invest in you. And that is ideally what you want. So all of this stuff equals engagement. If you're doing that and not getting engagement, then you have to go back and look at those 4 factors and say, am I doing this properly, right? And again, we'll get to the practical aspect of that. So why does engagement matter? And it's a very similar reason to why brand matters. So your network increases. Now, I had never been on a property training course. I won a ticket to one, didn't find it useful. I've learned so much more in my time afterwards from networking, from having a brand, from people reaching out to me reaching out to them. And because I had that trust in a brand, people were happy to be in a mastermind with me that I created, happy to teach me and help me and be on a WhatsApp ready to respond to things like live when I want to view it. If I had no profile picture, no friends and no activity and said, oh, can I come to your investment area with you? They're going to think, who are you, right? So it's building that social trust. And the more engagement you have, the more, the more real you appear, right? The more that people see you as a person that, oh, hold on, it's like that conformity thing, right? People are liking that, people are commenting on that. I want to speak to this person, I want to know him, I want to know her, right? You get stronger relationships. Some people come up to me and say something that I said on the podcast, and I was like, how do you know that about me? Because I forgot that I've said it. But it builds the trust and the warmth. They can just walk up to you and be like, hey, so, that property you're talking about, and you can instantly have that conversation. Instead of, hi, how you doing, what you working on, blah, blah, blah. It's just, boom, straight into it, right? And that is super important when it comes to time. And also it's quite nice to just get straight into it, right? To save the small talk. Again, last one, build trust and credibility. If people are engaging with your stuff, they're commenting, oh, I love that, I love this, I agree with you, liking it. And people see this. Investors are going to sit there. Once you creep on Facebook and they watch you, they're going to think, he or she's saying the right thing here. I think I want to reach out to them. And I've had people do that to me. I was like, so you message me on Facebook, but you don't post. And I'm like, yeah, I just look through the investor. I was like, fair enough. And that wouldn't have happened unless I had a brand, right? So, direct ROI is finding investors. So this is kind of the blueprint, right? It looks really simple, but there's a lot of thought and activity that has to go into it. So again, as with any business, I'll come to this side now, you should start with these questions, right? So this is probably one of the biggest steps in terms of, you need to philosophize a little bit, right? And be thinking these things about yourself, right? So these are the questions, have them on a piece of paper and write them down. Don't type it, don't talk it, write it down. What are you doing, right? What is your investment strategy? What do you stand for, right? What are you, simply put, right? And get that on paper. Where? Where are you on your journey? Are you at the beginning? Are you at the end? Are you at the middle? Are you retiring? You've got no houses? Where are you? Also, where are you investing in the world? You know, some people think I live in Birmingham, invest in Wales, have a house in Manchester and London. Like, you know, I haven't been very clear on where I'm from. You know, my accent gives it away to people. So make sure you're clear on that, because someone said to me the other day, my friend, she said, I've got a Liverpudlian accent. Like, I don't want to go on video because people are going to hate my accent. And we were like, no, people are going to love it because one, it's awesome. Two, like, people are going to hear Liverpool and say, oh, she's in Liverpool. Liverpool's a great area to invest. And one day if I want to invest in her or buy her deals. And she was like, oh yeah. So your accent, or whatever it is about you, could actually be a sales magnet, a lead generator, right? So think about the little things like that. Who are you? Are you an ex-recruiter? Are you an ex-fireman? Are you a current mechanic and property investor, right? Who are you? And again, that's quite a deep question to be asking here and to be getting some answers for, but it's something to think about, right? Because, you know, when you speak to people, you want to be consistent with who you are, right? So that was going to be, do some digging on that one. Why? Two parts to this. Why you? Why your brand? Why this colour? Why should people work with you, right? Why? You, in a sales way. And then secondly, you have, what's your why? Why are you in business? Why are you doing property? And if it's, financial freedom, money, that's great. Everyone in this room, that's everyone's why, give or take. So think deeply why are you actually doing this. People used to ask me, and I said, yeah, like freedom, I guess. And now I have a totally different answer because I've realised this is what I'm doing. And people connect, right? And there's a conversation that flows from it, right? If I say I want to open an Italian restaurant because I love cheese, people are like, oh my god, that's wicked, let's talk about cheese, talk about Italian food. I'm like, great, we're connected, right? Whereas before, financial freedom, yeah, me too, cool. It didn't really go anywhere. How are you going to do this? How are you going to invest in property? How are you going to deal with the emotional challenges and stress that comes with it, right? People need to know this, and you need to know it for your brand. And again, how actually links to consistency. Now, if you say, right, I know who I am going to solve the housing crisis single-handedly, right? Great. I'm only going to take on DSS tenants, all from the council's waiting list. I'm going to buy huge blocks of flats, and it's all going to be DSS. I don't care if I get paid, I'm doing it, because I love people, I want to house people. Great, like that is incredible. But then, 4 days later, you're at a networking event, yeah, I invest in high-end property in London, yeah, £1 million plus, well, £10 million plus, yeah. People are going to think, who are you, right? How are you helping the housing crisis when you're buying houses for people from overseas to be their trophy houses, right? So you need to think, how am I going to do this? What are the steps? So once you've done that, it's the big arrow, because it is a big jump now. This needs to be written down, no compromise, on paper and pen. Now, what do you need to do? You need to post every day. The only day I don't post is Sunday, I believe. But generally speaking, you need to be posting every single day. Once a day, I say. You can post more. Algorithms are always changing, but a safe bet for engagement and to give it time to, I call it to marinate, you need to do once a day, right? Generate content. I could do a presentation on content, so I won't talk about it too much. But essentially, content is two things, right? You want to generate it and you want to document it. Who knows Gary Vee? Who knows Gary Vee, right? Right? Cool. Anyone who doesn't, American guy shouts about college all the time and just tells millennials to get on with it and stop wasting their fucking lives. But he's an interesting guy to listen to, right? He says one thing that is incredible. Don't create content, document it, right? And what that means is you're sitting here, right? If you all took a selfie with the person next to you or someone you meet here or with me or with anyone and post it up, that's content. You write a blog about what I've told you, content, right? You take some of the video clips that we're recording, content. You split those into more, content, right? You can make a post about it, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, content. And there's 34 people in here. Each person in here has about 33 selfies.